The Real Estate Story with Adrian Butera.
Welcome to The Real Estate Story. I'm Adrian Butera, your host. The Real Estate Story is an insight into our industry through real life stories. With a combination of special industry guests, our team and my personal past experiences will bring you weekly stories and insights. We hope some of our stories will put a smile on your face, but all the stories and experiences, importantly, leave you with greater knowledge of the real estate and property industries. Well, welcome everybody. Adrian Butera is my name, and here I am here live on Facebook Live, as well as a recording for our first ever podcast. So welcome along everybody that's made the effort to join us here this afternoon. We're looking forward to quite a few episodes of The Real Estate Story presented every Thursday afternoon, and we've got an amazing array of guests that's ahead of us over the next few weeks. I'm delighted to have you all here. I'm delighted that the uptake and the thought and ideas that have come forward from friends, colleagues, and even some customers that have really fired this podcast on and fired the opportunity to communicate with everybody out there today. So I'm really excited, really delighted, and I'm really pleased to have our very first special guest on the line, Gil King. Welcome, Gil.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Nice to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here, and great to see that we're managing the technology well. Gil, you're aware that this is my very first podcast and audio link, and we're live, so thank you for joining us, and thanks for saying yes.
My pleasure.
Certainly, Gil, a very special, a very busy time for you at the moment, I guess, as the CEO of the REIV, given COVID-19. But before I get into that, can I just get a greater understanding? How long have you been at the REIV now?
It feels like a very long time, Adrian, but it's just in smidge over 3 years, so about 3.25 years, coming up to 3.5 years.
And where were you prior to the REIV, Gil?
I had a similar role at the Housing Industry Association for 8 years in Victoria. I ran the office out of Jellimont there, and then prior to that I was with government for 12 years with what is now known as the Victorian Building Authority, or back as it was then called the Building Commission.
So certainly, would you say similar membership organisations?
Similar in many ways and very different in other ways. The member associations have very similar challenges, but obviously the real estate sector is primarily focused around the sales and property management and valuation side of things, whereas the construction industry is more focused on a much broader, I think, a much broader construction element to it. So similar but different. Certainly,
I've been a member at the REIV now for, I'd like to think, 29 years, give or take, and it's one that I've been proud to be a part of. Now, sitting in the helm as the CEO, what's the role that the REI plays within our industry for some of our listeners, presuming that they're non-real estate people? What role do you play?
Well, it's fascinating. Many people think that we are actually the regulator for the real estate in Victoria, and that's not the case, although we'd probably like it to be partially true. We're a member organisation, so you're either a member of the REIV or you're not, and you don't have to be, but we'd like all ages to be members. The role we play is really fascinating, Adrian, because people see us being very visible now at this COVID-19 environment. But all the work we're doing is exactly the same sort of work that we do day in, day out. Probably just doesn't get the profile it does under this current environment.
Gil, it's a great segue into a handful of questions I've got in regards to COVID-19, and I did have a quick chat to the President this morning, and I just admired her for the role that she's doing at the moment, and I said that, outstanding, the position of the whole institute, every director, yourself as CEO, and Leah as President, but it's important, I guess, you've played an important role as an advocate for the industry. What's been the greatest challenge given COVID-19 from your position?
Well, every day is a new challenge, and that's probably the biggest challenge, is that it's such a changing landscape. Every couple of days there's something new, and what I have learned out of all this is don't place too much reliance on what you hear on television from the press meetings that the politicians or the bureaucrats hold, because it's only until you see the detail can you actually identify what the actual changes are. And one of the classics is that there's a 6-month moratorium on evictions. Well, that's great, but it's only just being debated in Parliament House today. That's probably 2 weeks old, that announcement, or 3 weeks old. But it's only now that we're actually starting to see the detail around that.
Yes, it's been very challenging, I'm sure, for you in your role and your directors there at the Institute. How have you seen, from your view, how the industry has taken up some of the challenges? Of course, I've conducted over 4,500, probably over 4,600 auctions in my career, but it was only a couple of weeks ago I conducted my first virtual auction. That was challenging for me. Have you been surprised by the way the industry has taken up some of the challenges?
Well, I've always believed that the industry is very adaptable to changing circumstances, and we've seen that through the global financial crisis. We've seen it with the changes coming for the residential tenancies legislation. We've seen it with all the rule changes that come from Consumer Affairs Victoria and from the Victorian government. So our profession adapts extremely well. So I haven't been surprised, but I've been, I suppose, very pleased with the innovation, the adaptability, and the way in which the industry just almost overnight can convert itself into a completely different style of operation.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Who would have thought Adrian would be doing a podcast here at this time of the year? But here I am. Presuming that COVID-19 is, we're going to see the back of it in a couple of months, 6 months, no one can really be sure. But how do you think our industry is going to perform once we do see the back of the coronavirus?
I think it's going to be a great opportunity, and that there's that great saying that I think that's Benjamin Franklin's, out of adversity comes opportunity. So it really is something which it's not going to just be real estate. I think it's going to apply across the board. So, for example, my entire office is currently working from home, and it's about 40 people. And what we've seen is there's been this ability to actually improve productivity by working from home. Because we've had to adapt very quickly. We fortunately put in place a process last year to make sure we could do this very quickly. We didn't foresee these circumstances, but within a couple of days we were able to move everybody off-site into working remotely. And what we've seen, I've just done some webinars via Zoom this morning. I've done 3 already today. And we're able to connect with our people from all around Victoria, right up to Mildura, through this technology. And it's something that's always been there, but we've sort of been forced to use it. And what I think will happen is when we come to the other side of the COVID-19 situation, a lot of what we do, we'll keep doing in a similar manner. I think that listeners will not know, but I live about 40 minutes south of Ballarat, and I was talking to some of the agents in Ballarat, and one of them said to me that he's using the video capabilities of doing of inspections to pre-select the shortlist for his rent roll. So in the past, he'd do 20, 30 walkthroughs of a property with all the applicants, and then he would work out the shortlist. But now what he's doing is he's actually picking the shortlist, taking them through on a video, and getting the shortlist from those who like the property, don't like the property from the viewing, and that's actually making his life a lot easier at the back end of the transaction.
Yeah, it's wonderful use of technology, and I think there's so many businesses out there that have adopted it. I know when we weren't able to do the inspections, when that all came about, and it put us all into a bit of a huff and puff, I remember making an inquiry with a company that provided 3D walkthroughs, and they were booked out for 3 weeks in a day. So it really, we do respond quickly, and I'm delighted to hear that you're using Zoom as aggressively as we all are at the moment. In fact, it was only earlier today I had 25 landlords on a Zoom call. Do you call it a call? Do you call it a video link? I guess it's video link. But yeah, it was wonderful. And they interacted and asking questions through chat. And to be truthful, we never would have run a platform like that prior to this pandemic. But the pandemic, it really is on the news, has been every day, has been every night, and I guess rightly so. But the REIV, I guess, has some other challenges and some other daily activities operating at the moment. What are your other challenges at the moment at the Institute?
Well, nothing changes, and what the challenge we have all the time is that there's a lot of new legislation being introduced from time to time. So what we were anticipating on the 1st of July was the introduction of the residential tenancies amendments. We now know that that's going to be pushed out to the latest date, will now be the 1st of January 2021. But if we get to the other side of COVID-19 and the restrictions are relaxed, then the government could actually introduce them, 1st of October or sometime in November. They can pick it, but we've at least been able to get that pushed out. But the challenge is around, we know it's coming. It's about how we train our people to be prepared for that, and this has given us an opportunity to spend a bit of extra time training. The other challenges we face, as always, is just making sure that we are across any legislation that comes our way, and making sure that we've got a seat at the table when people are discussing it. And there's a lot of issues in government outside of COVID-19. The cladding crisis, for example, is one issue that we have to deal with all the time.
Yeah, certainly, it's easy to forget some of those things, isn't it, the cladding crisis, but it's still there behind us. And it was only yesterday that I was, not that I had to remind myself, but gee, we've just come out of the biggest fire season, bushfire season that we've ever had, and obviously some challenges with that. And I know some members, agencies through regional Victoria were affected, and I'm sure there's some assistance, extra training and changing of legislation on properties out there as well. So there's lots of different things that you're dealing with. Training and development forms a big part of the Institute's role. I know my very, very first auction training course was at the REIV with Marshall White himself, and I can't remember his name, but it was certainly Marshall White that conducted the training at the time, and John Nichols, that's right, John Nichols. Marshall White and John Nichols. Now, that was a long time ago, and that was important to me 20-something years ago, or so 25, and I've been fortunate enough to conduct auctioneer training for the Institute for many years as well. What other professional development does the REIV offer?
Well, we've gone through the last 18 months, Adrian, of sort of putting out continuous professional development scheme on hold because, quite frankly, it was a bit unwieldy, and we're about to roll out a new CPD scheme, which will be easy for our members to comply with and get the development that they need. We're also introducing an accreditation program, and we're starting off actually with option accreditation, and that is extremely exciting, which is another layer again where you can be a member of the REIV, but if you're an accredited auctioneer as a member of REIV, then that puts you into a different space altogether. One thing that we are dealing with in this time is how do we continue our training in an environment where we can't go into a classroom, and what that's I'd say forced us to do a bit more quickly. We're on the pathway anyway, but we're currently providing a blended delivery, which means that of training for our Certificate 4 and for agents representative courses, which is really replacing the 100% in-room classroom type teaching. But the really exciting news is that in a couple of weeks we'll be launching a full self-paced online training program, particularly initially for the agents representative course, and that's going to mean that people will be able to sign up and do the agents rep course online at their own pace, but with all the same professional development that they'll be able to achieve in a classroom.
That's wonderful news, Gil, to be able to offer that online. I think it's important. It's not only keeping up with it, but it's in many cases a step ahead. So that's wonderful to hear. Gil, I really appreciate your time. I know it is incredibly in demand at the moment, particularly with everything that's going on. And this request here, I was elated that you said yes, and we could fit in this time and allow it to ask some simple questions, but really important questions on what's going on in our real estate industry. Thanks for being a part of the first real estate story, and we hope to see you again in the very near future, perhaps.
My absolute pleasure, Adrian. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Gil. Thanks again.
Are you on the move with a smartphone in hand? Go to comptongreen.com.au and our mobile-friendly website will make it easy to find the latest listings for sale and rent in the Inner West.
So now for a story, one dating back a few years, one that personally impacted me a huge moment in my career back in 2001. Before I go on with that, I just want to let everybody know, and for those that don't, I'm a competing auctioneer and have done for 25 years of my career. Frightening to confess that I've been a competing auctioneer for that long. But this was back in 2001 when I had my own real estate office in the northern suburbs of Melbourne in Preston, and was ready to compete in the Victorian Senior Auctioneers competition. For those that don't know, there's a state competition and there's an Australasian competition as well, but I had previously in '99 won the Victorian competition, but didn't get to I did get to the grand final of the Australasian, but didn't get the first prize. So I thought I'd give it another crack. 2001 was the year, and I thought, well, no better time. Had a lot to myself to prove, because some perhaps had thought that I was a lucky break back in '99, but I know the work and effort that I put in back then made a difference, and I wanted to go again to prove that that work and effort could once again make a difference. In 2001 as a business, I was also involved with Tommy Hafey, who was a coach to the REIV group. That's who I worked for at the time, and I had the benefit of tapping into Tommy through motivational speaking, through football, through our workplace, which was wonderful. I remember very clearly doing some training with my then coach, John Shaw, and he was also my prior boss. He was giving me some good advice, and we were talking about it, and I told him where the property was that we were selling. I was there making it to the final, and the property that was presented for the grand final was the penthouse apartment next to the SB Hotel, one of those big, large buildings there. I'm not sure if the building's still there, but I would expect it is. Now, part of the rules of the competition, you couldn't at the time inspect the property, you couldn't go to the property, you couldn't communicate with the agent that was, in fact, selling the property. So I felt like I was not in the know, I couldn't share the same passion. I was just a little old auctioneer from Preston, and how on earth was I going to win this? How was I going to frame it up and present the best auction, knowing that some of my competitors, in fact, were local to St Kilda, that is, and more in that inner CBD marketplace, which at the time Preston wasn't. John said to me, "Why don't you give Tommy Hafey a call?" And I said, "Why, John? Why on earth would I call Tommy? What's he got to do with auctioneering? Other than being a great motivator, what could he do to me in my auction call?" Now, the late Tommy Hafey to me was a legend already. As a Collingwood supporter, I became a Collingwood supporter when Tommy was the coach. And how cool was that to be possibly meeting up, catching up and getting some insights into auctioneering or motivation to someone that's so special in my life, particularly the chance to go to his house. So I rang him up and said, "Hi Tommy, Adrian's my name, blah, 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 competing in an auction competition, selling a property near you on the Esplanade there." And he said, "Well, Adrian, why don't you pop over for a cup of tea?" So I did. Unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. On my way there, I remember ringing my dad saying, "Dad, I'm going to Tommy Hafey's house. How cool is this?" I sat down with Tommy on his first floor there as we overlooked St Kilda Beach, and I remember very clearly him talking to me about, this is like the Cox Plate. The best of the best is going to be competing. It's going to get down to who wants it more. And whilst I took all that motivational insights on board, I thought, wow, I'm going to need a little bit more here. I asked Tommy at the time, "Tommy, what do you enjoy most about living in St Kilda?" And I then quizzed him a whole heap about St Kilda and the importance of the suburb and what it means to him. I've got to say to you, that interview, that meeting was absolutely amazing and changed my view on an auction call thereafter. Not only did that interview with Tommy give me the insight on how to present myself, but it gave me the motivation to be the best of the best and to ensure that I wanted it more than anybody else. But what it also gave me the capacity to do was, as I stood in front of that crowd at that auction, at that competition auction, I remember very, very clearly saying to everybody, well, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I was talking to Tommy Hafey, and this is what he loves about St Kilda. And I then waffled on, and clearly it wasn't just waffle, because it was good enough to win the day. It was good enough to give me the Victorian Championships that particular year. And I've said to many auctioneers moving on, I've said to many, whether they're novices or seniors, I've always said, no matter what your description is on a property, make it real. And that's one thing that experience with Tommy Hafey taught me, is to make all my experiences real. Don't make them up. Don't pretend you can see a view if you can't see it. Don't pretend to eat in a bakery if you don't eat there. Don't pretend that the convenience of a train unless you hop on it, or the convenience of other transport. Whatever the case may be for you, make it real. It was a great insight back then, and it was a great insight to this very day that I continue to practice. So there you go, that's one of my stories. I hope you enjoyed.
Have you used the Keep Me Posted button on our website? Just click Keep Me Posted and fill in your requirements, and you'll automatically receive all our up-to-date listings as they appear.
Well, there we have it. That was a great little story. I hope a few of you are probably looking there on Facebook Live going, well, his lips aren't moving. How does that all work? Pre-recorded, that's what it is, just to ensure that I get that out to the best of my abilities. Never perfect, but it was pretty good. Now, joining me just before we wrap up, we've got Steele Sexton, one of our senior salespeople and partners in the business. Steele, can you hear me there?
Adrian, I can. You got me?
Yeah, got you loud and clear. Welcome along. Now, the real estate story wouldn't be complete in not only talking to our special guest Gil today and sharing a little story. And whilst all those stories certainly aren't going to come all from me, but what is important that we cover off on some local real estate as well for the inner west of Melbourne. And I've asked Steele to join us here today. He was elated to join us, weren't you, Steele? You were excited?
Last minute call up, so yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, last minute call. I've actually got Steele on Zoom, even though this is not a visual presentation. Audio's all being recorded, so well done. Thanks for joining us, Steele. I wanted to briefly talk to you. We had 3 great sales last week, so certainly the real estate market's not come to a grinding halt. You transacted one of them in Ag Street in Newport. Could you give us a quick insight into that property?
Yeah, 3-bedroom period home, unrenovated, but reasonable land for Newport, a bit over 300 square metres. The start of the coronavirus shutdown saw a bit of ambiguity whether you'd be able to, in fact, get buys through. When we got the green light, I was probably showing 2 private inspections a day for the final fortnight before we sold it. We had 3 bidders, or 3 people make offers, and sold it for 880 last week, 880,000.
So for those that don't know Newport super well, Ag Street just west of the Newport station, which is just at the overpass, that's right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Now, you've had a bit more activity. You've got an off-market in Ag Street. We can't say too much about it just yet.
Look, I can certainly take buyers through. Anyone who wants to call or email me, they can get in touch. Again, 3-bedroom home, close to 350 square metres, off-street parking, great investment or first home. 100% for anyone. Get in touch with me. I'll get you through.
Great. And what's your sentiment? You're out there, you're in the field, you're talking to buyers, you're talking to sellers. What are you hearing? What are you feeling out there as a result of the COVID-19?
Look, I'm busy. I'm showing houses daily. I've got 3 private inspections tomorrow for, in fact, all of those homes are off market. That's one thing that I am seeing is vendors at the moment reluctant to put their home on realestate.com and Domain. However, we have got buyers out there. So I would encourage anyone to call their agent, get in touch, see what they've got for sale off market, because deals are being transacted and buyers' confidence is there.
Yeah, great. Now, you're talking about challenges. When I said to you I'm going to reach out to you and call you today, you said, I'm going to have 2 little rat bags running all over me and jumping all over me. I think that's one of the real life challenges to this whole story, is that we're all working from home. We've all got unusual backdrops, and we're all dealing with kids, whether they're too young. You've got a couple that are too young to be going to school, but they might be schooling from home or working from home. I think you're doing a great job. Well done to you.
We're doing our best. We're working I'm doing the heavy lifting sometimes, and then I'm handballing across for a bit of assistance.
Great.
That when needed as well.
Great. Now, I wanted to talk about, we've got some really cool properties for sale at the moment. Some are worth a couple $1 million and some really affordable properties. But we decided for our first episode we'd talk about a real affordable property that we've got. You've got one on Melbourne Road. Can you give us the detail on that and tell everybody what we've got available? It might be good for an investor or owner-occupier. You go with it. Tell us.
Good opportunity here. Fully renovated. It's been done top to bottom. Bathroom, kitchen, bedroom. Really hasn't had any expenses spared on the renovation. It's a 1-bedroom unit currently on Compton Green website. However, if in fact we're getting inquiries and showing them privately. If we don't get what we're after, we'll convert it to a realestate.com and a domain.com advertising private sale.
What sort of rental would we get on that still?
We're looking at a reasonable return in the 300s.
Okay.
Quoting 320 to 350,000.
And that's about, at a guess, 200 metres from Woolly North Station?
Central to everything. Woolly North Station, shops, walk to the Strand, park across the road. Great spot. Yeah,
cracking location. Steele, thank you so much for being a part of the Real Estate Story, our first episode and podcast. Thanks very much. I really appreciate your time. You get back to those little wrap bags and get back showing some properties. Thanks very much. It's been great having you.
Thanks, Adrian.
The Real Estate Story brought to you by Compton Green.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.